This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, October 30th, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
How to describe the devastation in the Caribbean from Hurricane Melissa.
Catastrophic would be where I would start.
I'm Rich Johnson.
Lawmakers pointing the finger at each other over worries food assistance will expire unless Congress or President Trump acts immediately. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
Following the second test of a nuclear-powered weapon by Russia this week, President Trump has ordered the Pentagon to resume nuclear weapons testing. I'm Jeff McKay.
In Illinois, Sean Grayson, the former Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy who fatally shot Sonia Massey, has been convicted of second-degree murder. I'm Jennifer King.
On Wall Street, the Fed cut interest rates, but that may be it for the year. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
A Trump appointee in California removed from his role as U.S. Attorney. I'm Clayton Neville.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Hurricane Melissa is heading northeast into the Atlantic, but not before leaving dozens dead in the Caribbean, hundreds of thousands without power in Cuba and in Jamaica, damage on an unimaginable scale after slicing through the island as a catastrophic Category 5 storm with destruction that will take months just to assess. Correspondent Rich Johnson reports.
Relief workers like Brian Bogart of the World Food Program find it hard to express the extent of the damage.
Catastrophic would be where I would start, particularly in those areas that have been affected by a combination of storm surge, massive flooding, landslides, and of course, wind damage.
This woman sums up the problem for hundreds of thousands throughout the Caribbean dealing with that damage.
Her roof has gone, clothes has wet up, and all those stuff. So I need some help. Please, I need some help.
That interview courtesy of the UK's Channel 4. On Air Force One in Asia.
Never seen numbers like that. I saw it a little while ago, 195 mile an hour wind. I've never seen that before. I've never seen, I guess it can get that high, but I've never seen it. And it's literally just, knocking down everything in front of it.
President Trump said the U.S. will do what it can.
Well, we have to. On a humanitarian basis, we have to. So we're watching it closely and we're prepared to move.
Brian Bogart says his group's working on the highest priority.
We're really focused on getting life-saving food assistance into communities that have been most severely affected.
AccuWeather estimates the damage to just Jamaica at about $22 billion for a rebuilding that will take years. That includes one of Jamaica's most famous vacation spots, according to Information Minister Dana Morris-Dixon.
I know a lot of American tourists come and see beautiful Montego Bay. That has taken a big hit.
Her comment courtesy of CNN. If you want to help, the State Department says, beware of disaster scammers, fake charities, unverified crowdfunding campaigns, and of course these days, AI deepfakes. The warning, stay vigilant, verify before donating, and only give to established groups with proven disaster relief experience. I'm Rich Johnson.
As the government shutdown continues, lawmakers are turning up the heat and casting blame on the other party over the pending shutdown of food stamp funding at the end of the week. John Stolnis has that story from Washington.
With the government shutdown now on day 30, Republican and Democratic lawmakers are urging each other to find a way to extend the SNAP food assistance program for the more than 40 million Americans who rely on it for groceries and other essentials. On Wednesday, Republican senators blocked Democratic-backed standalone legislation that would have extended SNAP. Senate Majority Leader John Thune on the Senate floor says Democrats just need to approve the House-passed continuing resolution they've denied more than a dozen times.
This isn't a political game. These are real people's lives that we're talking about. And you all have just figured out 29 days in that, there might be some consequences. There are people who run out of money.
Republican Senator Josh Hawley says he's planning on introducing his own SNAP legislation. Democratic senators said they plan to vote for it. Meanwhile, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer points the finger at the Trump administration for not authorizing the use of emergency funds to pay for food stamps during the shutdown.
Donald Trump is a vindictive politician and a heartless man. Never before, under any president, Democrat or Republican, has SNAP been cut off in a shutdown, and Trump knows he can do it.
Frustration is building among lawmakers as the shutdown reaches the 1-month mark. The House remains in recess during the shutdown. House Speaker Mike Johnson says Democrats could end it all by voting on the CR they passed in September.
And almost comically at this point, the Democrats are still out trying to convince you that this is somehow Republicans' fault. But the facts are the facts, and the American people can see that.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries criticizing President Trump for refusing to meet with Democratic leaders before his trip to Asia.
Donald Trump has spent more time talking to Hamas and the Chinese Communist Party than he has in talking to Democrats on Capitol Hill to end the Trump shutdown, reopen the government.
House staffers will miss their first paychecks on Friday. However, the military will get theirs. John Stolnis, Washington.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. And now it's the Buy More and Save More event. Save on beds, bases, pillows, and more. Only at Sleep Number or sleepnumber.com. What's prompted the Pentagon to resume nuclear weapons testing? When America in the Morning continues after these messages. America in the Morning continues, searching for areas of warm weather today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton with the forecast.
The only real organized region of warmth for this day before Halloween looks to be the southwest, especially the interior southwest, as a sprawling area of high pressure helps to promote sunshine and temperatures at least a few degrees above the historical average. Widespread record warmth is not really expected today, but highs in the low to mid 80s for places like California's Central Valley will be mainly 6 to 10 degrees above average for the end of October, providing temperatures more typical of the start of the month. More clouds build into the northwest for a time today, but that region looks dry and shifting eastward. There is a large expanse of the nation with a dry Thursday in its future, thanks to several zones of high pressure spread around the Rockies, well off the California coast and even into South Texas. A cold front pushing across the upper Midwest will find conditions generally just too dry to produce very much for showers, and a surge of cool air makes for a rather pleasant feel from Arkansas to the central and eastern Gulf Coast and into northern Florida. Today's most active weather by far sets up in the mid-Atlantic and into New England, where a storm rides northward while picking up in intensity, delivering increasing winds, especially to near coastal areas from New Jersey into southern New England, but also some points inland from Maryland to New York, as rain overspreads the same general area from south to north today. Although at least some steady rain heads back into Indiana, Ohio, and even West Virginia, as some showers linger to the south over parts of the Ohio Valley and interior southeast, even reaching parts of Kentucky and Tennessee. In Los Angeles, today brings more warmth and sunshine, high 87. For Toledo, Ohio, expect clouds instead, rain at times, and a high only getting up to 49. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Following the second test of a nuclear-powered weapon by Russia this week, President Trump has ordered the Pentagon to resume nuclear weapons testing. America in the Morning's Jeff McKay reports from Washington.
President Trump posted on Truth Social Wednesday evening, quote, "The United States has more nuclear weapons than any other country. Because of other countries testing nuclear programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis." The presidential order comes after Russia test-fired a new missile that was nuclear-powered and can carry a nuclear payload, and followed that up with a test of a nuclear-powered, nuclear-capable underwater drone, both weapons that the Kremlin said cannot be shot down or stopped below water. Following the Russian test, North Korea fired nuclear-capable sea-to-surface cruise missiles less than a day before President Trump arrived in South Korea, part of his Asian business trip. The timing of the president's order is also important, as he is scheduled to meet with China's Xi Jinping to discuss tariffs and trade on Thursday. The U.S. has not conducted a nuclear test since 1992, and there are worldwide concerns this could start a new nuclear arms race. I'm Jeff McKay in Washington.
An Illinois jury reached a verdict in the shooting death of Sonia Massey, the woman shot and killed by a sheriff's deputy after she called 911. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
In Illinois, Sean Grayson, the former Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy who fatally shot Sonia Massey, has been convicted of second-degree murder in a case that raised new questions about police shootings of black people. Grayson's set to be sentenced January 29th and could receive anything from probation to 20 years in prison. Grayson and another deputy arrived at Massey's home in Springfield, Illinois, early on July 6, 2024, after she called 911 and reported seeing a prowler.
I heard somebody outside.
Body camera footage was a key part of the prosecutor's case. Grayson testified that Massey was acting erratically, and he was afraid she was going to scald him with a pot of boiling water.
I'll shoot you in that building.
You better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot!
Grayson was fired after his indictment. The sheriff who hired him retired, and Massey's family settled a lawsuit against the county for $10 million. The case also prompted a change in Illinois law requiring more transparency on the background of law enforcement job candidates. I'm Jennifer King.
The Fed cuts interest rates and more job cuts by major employers. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. With Thursday business headlines, here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a whipsaw Wednesday for stocks. The major averages hit fresh intraday record highs yesterday, but then the Dow fell when Fed Chair Jay Powell raised doubts about any more interest rate cuts coming this year. As expected, the Fed cut the overnight bank lending rate by 0.25 percentage point, which means you'll pay slightly less in interest on credit card balances you're carrying and other adjustable debt you have. But investors want more rate cuts.
So after we got that, admonition from Chair Powell that, hey, don't count on a December rate cut, whether in fact we take that and run with it or not, you see home builders down 3%. You got regional banks down 2% on the day, and you have extreme negative breadth in the overall market, even as the S&P 500 is slightly green.
That's CNBC's Mike Santoli. Google parent Alphabet shares were higher in after-hours trading last night. It reported strong revenue in the last quarter. Facebook parent Meta and Microsoft shares of each fell after hours on their results. Companies keep announcing job cuts. Over the past few weeks, it's been adding up into the hundreds of thousands. Amazon, UPS, Facebook, Target, now add General Motors, saying yesterday it'll fire 1,700 people. CarMax cutting 350. One investor says there could be a job loss tipping point. When people lose a job, they stop spending. And that's not good for the economy, which is a consumer economy.
If you commit to AI as a company and you show some increased productivity from it, you're going to get a halo effect from AI. So that's very positive right now. The question is, when does it turn negative? Because you're displacing buyers of consumer goods, meaning white collar, as we saw with Amazon, 14,000 of them. When does the trade-off happen? Will productivity of those companies and increased earnings offset massive, and I do believe massive unemployment?
Short Hills Capital's Steve Weiss on CNBC. NVIDIA became the first $5 trillion company ever yesterday.
It is a stunning number. If you think about the growth that NVIDIA has seen this year, close to 50% growth on the back of this continuing exploding AI infrastructure build-out. The U.S. allowing NVIDIA to start selling that Blackwell chip into China, where there would be insatiable demand for it. And so the president even winking about it, it makes sense to me after that happened, that we're seeing NVIDIA now exceed that $5 trillion, wild to say it, $5 trillion market cap.
Big Technology's Alex Kantrowitz on CNBC. On today's watch list, investors are hopeful President Trump and China's President Xi will announce a trade deal. Plus, we get earnings from big names Apple and Amazon.
Big names indeed. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, U.S. Attorney in California illegally serving in his role. After these messages. A Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in California has been illegally serving in his role, according to a federal judge. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
The judge's ruling said that the Trump-appointed acting U.S. Attorney in Southern California, Bill Asaley, was serving in his position unlawfully, disqualifying him from overseeing multiple cases. The former state legislator has stayed on as a U.S. attorney since resigning from the interim role back in July because of his 120-day limit running out. But he has stayed on to prosecute cases. This week, a federal judge in Hawaii disqualified Asaley from overseeing any more cases in that role. But the judge ruled that Asaley could continue as the first assistant U.S. attorney. Now, critics of President Trump say that he's using allies on immigration at the U.S. attorney level to essentially avoid Congress on certain things. It's not the first time a Trump appointee was essentially removed. Alina Habba was ousted from her interim U.S. attorney role in New Jersey. Critics of Habba's pointed to what they called inexperience and accused her of politicizing the office. I'm Clayton Neville.
It's a mission costing taxpayers approximately $1 million each day, but you can plan on seeing members of the military patrolling parts of the nation's capital until further notice. The Pentagon is saying that National Guard troops will remain mobilized in Washington, D.C. at least through February. The troops' orders were to lapse at the end of November, but Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has extended them. The D.C. mobilization is still the subject of a legal fight between the Trump administration and the D.C. Attorney General. There are currently over 2,300 National Guard troops from states including Louisiana, West Virginia, and Mississippi serving in Washington, D.C. America in the Morning for Thursday, October 30th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Hurricane Melissa made landfall in Cuba as a Category 3 hurricane. I'm Donna Warder.
The Federal Reserve has cut its key interest rate for a second straight time. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
President Trump winds down what's been a busy trip to Asia. I'm Clayton Neville.
Dozens of people are dead following a drug raid in Brazil. Concerns grow over SNAP subsidies disappearing, and Maryland and Virginia grapple with redistricting plans.
Sting will perform in San Francisco before the Super Bowl. I'm Kevin Carr.
Rockefeller Center has a winner for Christmas Tree of the Year, Julie Walker, New York.
Back after these messages. Back on America in the Morning, a check of this pre-Halloween day forecast across the country with AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A strengthening storm will deliver some generally welcome rain around the mid-Atlantic and much of the Northeast today. Much of the rain toward the coast may fall over just a few hours within a band of downpours that is likely to set up this afternoon just ahead of the back edge of precipitation, following generally light to moderate rain to start the day, leading to flooding in some of the usual poor drainage areas, low-lying spots, and some rough evening commutes as well. There may even be some pockets of locally higher rainfall totals where those downpours turn the most intense later today. Gusty winds also build with this storm, and that brisk onshore flow around the coast brings the risk for coastal flooding and beach erosion with yet another storm from Maryland straight through the coast of Maine. Gusts may build to 40 miles per hour for a time to the east of this area of low pressure, tracking northward just to the east of the Appalachians, and some of that stronger wind looks to set up from the Delmarva Peninsula into eastern Pennsylvania, central and eastern New York, and much of New England to the west of Maine by sunset. Those are the areas most likely to pick up some decent rain today as well, topping out at 1 to 2 inches of rain for many, but at least some rain likely reaches as far to the west as Indiana. The rain ends in the evening for places like Philadelphia and New York, but the wind sticks around through tomorrow as the still intensifying storm interacts with high pressure around the Dakotas. The rest of the nation has a good deal quieter conditions in store for today. The backside of that east storm brings showers to parts of Tennessee and Kentucky, maybe even into northern Georgia, and any showers end over coastal North Carolina and Virginia as well. A cold front tries to spark a shower around the upper Midwest, but there's just not much moisture to work with there. Other than that, it's looking like plenty of sun for many outside of the Northwest, where clouds will instead be more prevalent. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Simply search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Hurricane Melissa roared through Cuba as a Category 3 storm, leaving hundreds of thousands in the dark before moving through a section of the Bahamas as a weakened Category 1, as it heads now out into the Atlantic. Before it hit Cuba, it slammed into Jamaica as the strongest ever hurricane to hit that island nation, and early reports from the Jamaican government include flattened towns and cities, flooding so high that even a shark was seen swimming down a street in the capital city of Kingston. Correspondent Donna Warder reports on Hurricane Melissa as AccuWeather meteorologist Ariella Scalise says it'll take months and even years for some parts of Jamaica to recover, costing billions to rebuild.
Melissa roared ashore near New Hope, Jamaica, shredding roofs, flooding neighborhoods, and cutting off entire communities. AccuWeather's preliminary damage and economic loss is estimated at $22 billion in Jamaica alone. AccuWeather storm chasers on the ground describe homes and cars underwater and roads completely blocked. As the storm moved on towards Cuba and the Bahamas, officials warn it could take months for Jamaica to recover from one of the most powerful hurricanes ever recorded in the Atlantic.
Hurricane Melissa made landfall in Cuba as a Category 3 hurricane. Hurricane specialist Brad Reinhardt of the National Hurricane Center in Miami says Melissa isn't as strong as when it pummeled Jamaica, but it's still powerful enough to generate a storm surge of up to 12 feet.
So it's going to remain a pretty powerful system for the next several days as it moves across the northern Atlantic.
Reinhardt says next for Melissa, the Bahamas.
So it's going to continue moving off to the northeast and eventually pass near or to the west of Bermuda later on Thursday and Thursday night as a hurricane.
Meanwhile, Jamaica is assessing the damage. Local disaster officials say there's extensive damage in southern Jamaica, and the southwestern parish of St. Elizabeth is underwater. More than 500,000 homes and businesses are without power. I'm Donna Warder.
As expected, the Federal Reserve approved a second straight interest rate cut, but while President Trump wants more cuts before the end of the year, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell signaled that this may be the last one for 2025. Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports.
The Federal Reserve has cut its key interest rate for a second straight time as the government shutdown clouds the economic outlook.
Conditions in the labor market appear to be gradually cooling, and inflation remains somewhat elevated. In support of our goals and in light of the balance of risks to employment and inflation, today the Federal Open Market Committee decided to lower our policy interest rate by a 1/4 percentage point.
The 1/4 percentage point drop comes amid sluggish hiring and stubbornly elevated inflation. That's a complicated enough equation for the Fed, but then there's the shutdown, leaving the central bank without key economic data it typically relies on.
Available indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a moderate pace. GDP rose at a 1.6% pace in the first half of the year, down from 2.4% last year. Data available prior to the shutdown show that growth in economic activity may be on a somewhat firmer trajectory than expected, primarily reflecting stronger consumer spending. Business investment in equipment and intangibles has continued to expand, while activity in the housing sector remains weak. The shutdown of the federal government will weigh on economic activity while it persists, but these effects should reverse after the shutdown ends.
While the Fed had signaled it might reduce the rate again in December.
A further reduction in the policy rate at the December meeting is not a foregone conclusion. Far from it.
Chair Jerome Powell compares it to driving in fog.
I'm not committing to that. I'm just saying it's certainly a possibility that you would say, we really can't see, so let's slow down.
Acknowledging the limited data could make some Fed officials more cautious about their next move. Sagar Magani, Washington.
President Trump's trip to Asia concludes today after a meeting with China's president, but also includes some controversy after North Korea conducted a missile test as the president was meeting Wednesday with the leader of South Korea. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports trade and tariffs will be the top topics as Trump meets with Chinese President Xi.
President Trump told a dinner table of world leaders that he was looking forward to meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in South Korea.
And we've been talking a lot over the last month, and I think we're going to have something that's going to be very, very satisfactory to China and to us. I think we're going to have I think it's going to be a very good meeting.
The meeting expected to last for several hours, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that U.S. and Chinese officials have already agreed to a framework around trade talks, but it is up to the two leaders to get a deal done. This after a busy few days in Asia for the president, who met with South Korean leaders yesterday.
And we made our deal. We pretty much finalized a trade deal, and we discussed some other things having to do with national security, etc. And I think we came to a conclusion on a lot of very important items.
He was also pleased with other deals made on this trip.
We had a terrific meeting in Japan also, and we concluded a trade deal, very big one, a very big trade deal. And I always say good for both countries. I think it really is great for both countries.
The president did address North Korea and said the U.S. will work with both countries on improving relationships.
You have a little bit of a cloud over your country, and we're going to get that cloud solved. You have a neighbor that hasn't been as nice as they could be, and I think they will be. I know Kim Jong-un very well, and I think things will work out very well.
As far as the specifics with South Korea, the agreement says that Seoul can split its promised $350 billion investment fund into $200 billion in cash. The other $150 billion is to be spent on investments in shipbuilding. I'm Clayton Neville.
Voter frustration grows over the government shutdown. That and more when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Overseas, and it's being called one of the largest and also deadliest and controversial police raids in Brazil's history. Corpses lined several streets in slum sections of Rio de Janeiro after a massive police raid against a notorious Brazilian drug gang led to clashes and gunfire. The raid by what was estimated at 2,500 police and soldiers in armored vehicles and helicopters left more than 130 people dead, including a number of civilians and 4 police officers. Gang members retaliated against the police, launching drones that dropped explosives at officers and lit cars on fire to stop authorities advancing. The Brazilian government reported that there were nearly 100 people arrested and more than half a ton of drugs seized. Back home, as our government shutdown continues with no signs of ending, members of Congress are grappling with voter frustration over rising health care premiums as well as concerns over food subsidies going away in the coming hours. Lisa Dwyer reports.
While notices of rising health insurance premiums are landing in voters' mailboxes, sending some to town halls to vent their frustration as they face losing their health care coverage due to skyrocketing premiums as subsidies expire, Republicans are doubling down on their efforts to oppose the Affordable Care Act. House Speaker Mike Johnson.
You know that it is subsidizing bad policy.
Democrats say that expired tax credits that kept costs lower should be extended and are refusing to reopen the government until they are. Republicans say they want a broader overhaul of the healthcare system. Johnson says,
It's because it's very complicated to fix. But Republicans have a long list of ideas.
However, no clear plan has yet been presented in writing. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
2 states that border Washington, D.C. have reached 2 different conclusions when it comes to congressional redistricting. The Virginia House of Delegates voted on Wednesday to approve a constitutional amendment that would allow the state legislature, where Democrats control both chambers, to draw new congressional maps for the 2026 midterm elections. The amendment now goes to the Virginia Senate, which is expected to pass the measure in the coming days, setting in motion a months-long process that could lead to new districts more favorable to Democrat candidates. However, in Maryland, State Senate President Bill Ferguson is defying the wishes of fellow Democrat Governor Wes Moore and the State House Speaker, saying his chamber will not move forward with redrawing the boundaries in a special session. America in the Morning continues. The top women's hoops league featuring star Caitlin Clark is prolonging a bargaining period amid player unrest. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh explains.
The WNBA has offered players a 30-day extension to continue negotiations for a new collective bargaining agreement, according to two AP sources. The current CBA is set to expire on Friday. Tensions have been rising in recent weeks as the sides try to work out a new deal. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert.
I highly respect the players.
Stars like the Minnesota Lynx' Nafisa Collier have criticized the league and Commissioner Engelbert.
Right now, we have the worst leadership in the world.
When the last CBA deal had expired in 2019, the two sides agreed to a 60-day extension and eventually ratified the current CBA in January 2020. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Microsoft Azure servers go offline for several hours yesterday, only a week after a major cloud server outage from Amazon, and now the blame game is underway. In our tech report, Chuck Palm has more.
Microsoft suffers a massive outage just 1 week after the AWS outage had epic ramifications for hosted websites, services, and financial exchanges. And just to prove the digital universe has a sense of humor, Microsoft announced its huge earnings bombshell right about the time their investor page goes dark. About 12 noon yesterday, someone released an inadvertent configuration change in the Azure front door network, which triggered the mess, knocking out Microsoft 365 services, Xbox, and other Azure-hosted websites. Microsoft scrambled to roll back server configurations like trying to undo a bad haircut. MS released a simple statement through a spokesperson that said, "Check your alerts, we're on it." Things generally returned to normal about 7:30 p.m. Eastern, after a few knee-jerk responses, including one from yours truly, before Microsoft took the credit and admitted it was all human error. For more tech news, find me on X at Chuck Palm.
With sports, here's America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
World Series Game 5 last night, the Blue Jays defeated the Dodgers 6-1 in Los Angeles, giving them a 3-2 lead and 2 chances to wrap up the World Series title at home this weekend. Davis Schneider sent the first pitch of the game out to left field, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. took Blake Snell deep just 2 pitches later, the first back-to-back jacks to start a World Series game ever. From there, it was the Trey Savage show. 7 innings, 3 hits, 12 strikeouts. That breaks the rookie record set by Don Newcomb in the 1949 series. And this is just Savage's 8th big league start, 5 of them coming in the postseason.
It's a crazy world. Crazy world. Hollywood couldn't have made it this good. So just being a part of this, I'm just very blessed.
Game 6 Friday night in Toronto. Derek Shelton is on his way back to Minnesota to manage the Twins. He was their bench coach for a couple of years before going to Pittsburgh, where he managed the Pirates for 5 seasons. Hoops, the Bulls are still among the NBA's 4 unbeaten teams to start the season. They dispatched the Kings 126-113 and are off to a 4-0 start. 3 winless teams remain, and each of them lost last night. The Nets dropped to 0-5 with a 117-112 loss to the Hawks. Nuggets rocked the Pelicans 122-88. New Orleans 0-4. Nikola Jokic tied an NBA record with his 4th straight triple-double to start the season. And the surprise among the Ophers, the Pacers. 4 months after their trip to the finals, they're off to an 0-4 start after falling to the Mavericks 107-105. That's Thursday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, Rosie O'Donnell's daughter in trouble with the law again after these messages. The Super Bowl festivities are getting additional music acts, but the one that stirred controversy with his selection as the star of the halftime show will remain. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr has details.
On Tuesday, the NFL announced another performer for the Super Bowl. No, the league has not decided to supplant Bad Bunny in the halftime show.
You can hear it in my accent when I talk. I'm an Englishman.
A separate concert featuring British music superstar Sting will take place 2 days prior on February 6th at the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco. However, if you want to see that, open your wallet. Tickets start at $750. Sting performed in the Super Bowl back in 2003 alongside Shania Twain and No Doubt. Similarly, upcoming headliner Bad Bunny performed in the halftime show in 2020 with Jennifer Lopez and Shakira. On Wednesday, TMZ featured a video of Jay-Z, whose company Roc Nation produces the halftime show, saying nothing has changed.
Yeah, I don't want to disrespect you, but I ain't got no scoops for you.
Bad Bunny, who is from Puerto Rico and an American citizen, has been met with some criticism, partly because he sings almost exclusively in Spanish. The pushback appears mostly along party lines. A Quinnipiac poll released on Monday found that 48% of people approve of the choice of Bad Bunny, but 29% do not. However, when broken down to political ideology, 63% of Republicans disapprove, while 74% of Democrats approve. In the end, Jay-Z backed Bad Bunny as a choice.
Why are people hating on him?
They love him. Don't let them fool you.
I'm Kevin Carr.
The daughter of a famous celebrity has new problems within the legal system. Rosie O'Donnell is asking for prayers as her daughter Chelsea Bell, who has had run-ins with the law in the past, was removed from a court-ordered drug treatment program and jailed after her probation was revoked. O'Donnell's daughter was originally arrested 13 months ago on felony counts of neglecting a child and drug possession. E! Entertainment News is reporting that she was arrested again a month later in Wisconsin, charged with drug possession and jumping bail, and then a month after that faced new drug charges. It's not known how long O'Donnell's daughter will remain in prison. Halloween is tomorrow, but it will soon begin to look a lot like Christmas in New York City. Correspondent Julie Walker reports a majestic Norway spruce from upstate New York has been chosen as the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree and will soon make its way to the Big Apple.
Rockefeller Center has a winner for Christmas Tree of the Year. A majestic Norway spruce from just outside Albany, New York, has been chosen to take center stage in the plaza. Officials say the 75-foot spruce will be cut down November 6th. It traditionally gets a police escort down to Manhattan, arriving 2 days later, where more than 50,000 multicolored LED lights will be set up on it, along with a 900-pound Swarovski crystal star on top. The tree lighting is December 3rd during a live broadcast on NBC. After the holiday season ends, the tree becomes lumber for Habitat for Humanity to use for housing projects for families in need. Julie Walker, New York.
America in the Morning for Thursday, October 30th, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.